Yo, what's up? This is our first episode of Controvers, where we talk about controversial topics, pop culture, news, and whatever.
And today we're talking about the N-word.
The N-word.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make this our first episode. Technically, it's our second one, but the first one wasn't so great.
It was pretty bad, actually.
It was pretty bad. It had to do with Julian Assange. Then we started talking about Donald Trump, and then we started talking about colonization.
Yeah,
it was all over the place.
It went pretty far.
But the reason why I wanted to talk about the N-word for this episode, for our first episode, is because last night, a mutual friend of ours, we had a bit of a rough conversation talking about the N-word and whether white people.
Very long
it was
discussion.
long. It was like 2 hours, or
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Whether white people should be allowed to use the N-word, and I, quite frankly, said to him, I just don't want you to say it around me. I'm not telling you can't say it at all. I just don't feel comfortable when you say it around me. And he kind of went off on this tangent explaining the history of the N-word to me. And, that was kind of I'll be honest with you, my brain kind of closed off a bit because I'm like, this white dude, he's telling me the history of the N-word, and I'm like, I'm
I think that
living.
There was also a big misunderstanding because the only reason why he thought that you didn't want him to use the N-word was because you thought he was using in a racist connotation, which is why he tried to explain to you the whole reason behind it. And what he didn't understand, in my opinion, is that sometimes there's certain words or certain things that if someone doesn't like you to say them, it doesn't really matter the context behind it. You just don't say them. It's really easy to do, and if it's something that you don't understand. And at the same time, obviously, he didn't realize that we all know that he's not actually racist because he's actually friends with him.
Yeah.
But,
no, we're the three of we're all good friends. I know that when he was saying it, he means it in a loving way. I know that he says it because he wants to be a part of the community, and he really admires the black community. But at the same time, if someone like me, if I don't feel comfortable with him using that word, I feel like he should have just respected that, because it bothers me because there's millions of English words, and I just say, hey, can you not say this one particular word in front of me when we hang out, because it doesn't make me feel comfortable. It makes me feel awkward because it's just...
Yes, and I think one of the other misunderstandings is that he thought that you meant that he shouldn't use that word at all, when in reality, I think the point that we were all trying to get across is that you don't feel comfortable hearing this word coming from him or white people. So to pander to you specifically, you just don't say that word. It's that was the issue that he didn't really understand. He kept trying to go back to the racist thing, and why he didn't mean it as a racist thing. And he also was trying to say how this word is not used in that way nowadays, which is why he could use it. But at the same time, there is the point that you rose, that this word is still being used in racist connotations nowadays. So even if you don't mean it in a racist way, I still understand why it's a sensitive word, because you still have white supremacists that use the word.
Yeah, and
even if they're small in number, it's still there. And you might as well just not be awkward about it and just let it be.
I just think I wish we lived in a post-racial world where a white person, any white person can say it, and no one would even consider the idea that they were being racist. But like that's just not the world that we currently live in, and I think that um, he needs to acknowledge like what you said, like it's still being used today as a way to put people down, as a way to dehumanize the black community. And
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I also want to say kind of like the other side of the argument, because I do think that there's another side of the argument, and that is that even though this word is still being used in racist connotations nowadays, because it has been used so much in the hip hop world, in rap, and all of that. Nowadays, all the people that want to use this word in non-racist terms, they simply idolize the word because pretty much all of the iconic rap songs or hip hop songs, most of them have this word in it. So now it's almost seen as some sort of it's like saying bro or whatever, some kind of one of these cool sort of words. So now because of that, because it's been idolized so much and used so much, now everyone's trying to use it because it's become such a trendy, well, it's been like that for a long time at this point, but
yeah, but like does it like make sense though to you though that hip hop rap, it came from the black community?
yeah.
Like, so the usage of the N-word is unique to that particular genre of music, and it wasn't until like white people started like appropriating the genre that it blew up into the way we know it today.
I feel it was rap music in itself that blew up, and especially I think from the 90s on, you had the biggest rap artists of all history. You had Tupac and Biggie, and I think after these kind of people, rap just blew up, and you can see that rap was huge. If you looked at the album sales, 70% of the album sales were to white people. That wasn't because more white people liked this rap music, is because there's simply demographically there's more white people, but at the same time it still proved that this music that originated from the black community simply became super popular because it was a good genre. It was,
and
everyone likes it.
I think what I'm saying is like from the cultural standpoint of how rap and hip hop come from the real world. It was a genre created by black people, and I feel like ideally, ideally it'd be nice not to have to not to hear the N-word, but at the same time, like the N-word is like iconic to that genre. It's like a part of it's a part of it. It's a part of the history of that genre as well. So for people to like use a excuse like, oh, people use it in rap music, rappers use it all the time, I'm like, yes, but like that's a characteristic of rap music, and rap music comes from the pain and suffering of black people being oppressed by.
There's a good example of your point. There's a song by Ice Cube called Gangsta Rap Made Me Do It, and basically the whole song is trying to justify the origin of gangster rap and why it sounds violent and why they use the words that they use, and he does explain why he uses the N-word. And then he says that it's because he heard it the first time in 1971, which is, his early years. He was a kid at that time. So his point was that, like, well, I appropriated this word that was used against me, and I made it a cool thing along with others, and it became a cool thing. And that was the point, was to take power away from the racist people that were trying to use this word to actually hurt and do hate crimes against black people. So a lot of black rappers appropriated the word as to create some sense of community, and also to, again, take out all the power that this word had, because suddenly it wasn't being used by white supremacists, it was being used by all the black community. So that was a very powerful moment where suddenly racist people had one less thing to do or attack black people, you know, because before it was hearing the N-word all the time. That was the main insult, the main thing that you would see in racism back in the 50s, you know.
All right. So let's just leave it at that. Comment down below what you think, if you've ever encountered this type of argument. Did we even introduce ourselves?
Oh, I am Martin.
And I am Ricky. What's your last name though?
Van Brackle, don't bother remembering.
Van Brockle.
Yeah,
Martin Van Brockle.
Yeah.
How white?
Oh, really?
It's super white. It's super.
Should we hear this guy's name?
It's Ricky Carson.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and thrive. Should that be our saying? Like, subscribe, and thrive.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Let's-
Like, subscribe, and no, something like subscribe, and if you don't like it, dislike and explain why. Yeah, because we want to hear some feedback. You know?
We want to hear. We want to hear
opinions.
what you think, your opinions, your life experiences.
Yeah, and that's where we can take top.